This is tea of the day, but this is not a very good tea. And there's no intro because nothing about this is really funny. Pop Smoke has been killed by two masked men that reportedly showed up to a house that he was supposedly renting. This is absolutely awful. It's tragic. It's terrible. We don't have full details yet. So far, the two people that had contributed to killing him have fled the scene, and nobody knows. They will be caught because that is how the justice system goes. It's absolutely awful. Pop Smoke was a music artist, for those of you that don't know, was really starting to make his name, and it's just a terrible thing. Ryan Newman is alive and doing okay, supposedly. After his horrific Daytona 500 crash, we're going to talk about that. Teddy Bridgewater, where does he go next year? Drew Brees re-signing with the Saints, and all of the MLB players completely grilling the Houston Astros. So let's talk about all of this tea of the day right here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and don't go anywhere. Now, the first topic that I do want to talk about, which I feel like is the most important, and again, it's kind of hard to say what is most important between someone being killed and someone being almost killed. I'm just going to talk about the first one first because this is very, very recent. And that is how you get people to watch your video. Talk about the thing that is trending, and that is Pop Smoke. Now, for those of you that are part of the older generation, a lot of you have no idea who he is. And a lot of you are so frowned upon the younger generations of music. And I don't understand why that is. A lot of you will say it's not music. That could be made into another video. I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, Pop Smoke was becoming an icon in the music industry. And he was, to me, he was right about getting to that peak where he just needed a couple of more and boom. He already blew up. He was rich. He was making money. But to really just go insane and blow up. And I felt the same thing with, not to compare him to, but to 6ix9ine. Right before he was incarcerated, I felt the same exact thing with 6ix9ine. He was starting to blow up and he was just really at that peak, and then this happened. This is a different situation. This is not Pop Smoke's fault, at least not to our knowledge. He did have a party at his house that he was renting. As far as we know, we don't know if these two gentlemen that had showed up to the premises and shot and killed Pop Smoke were invited to that party. I would assume not. I'm assuming he probably had no idea who they were. They reportedly showed up and they shot him multiple times, critically wounding him. Now, there is a video on TMZ that shows the paramedics taking Pop Smoke out of his household on a stretcher and trying to repeatedly give him CPR in an ambulance before it had before it had traveled to the hospital. Again, I don't know exactly where he was pronounced dead. I don't know if he was dead on arrival. I don't know if he was suffering internal injuries and it then contributed to his death, whether they were making their way to the hospital or whatnot or what have you. But I could tell you that it's really unfortunate. I really did like Pop Smoke. I listened to a lot of his saying, like Welcome to the Party and all that stuff in the beginning, but then I really started to listen to it once he dropped this album. And Taye was on that too, and I really liked that album. That was just really good music. For me, you know, a lot of people will say negative things about Pop Smoke, but again, this whole situation is so beyond music. And it's the same thing with Kobe Bryant. You know, regardless of what you said or liked, it's beyond basketball. It's beyond music. It's a human life. And at the end of the day, it is just awful, awful news. And hopefully these two pricks do get incarcerated and are given a very, very tough time and really regret what they did. Again, I was told, or again, this is all just new information, that this was supposedly over just a couple of dollars. Now, a couple of dollars in rapper money is probably a couple of grand or a couple of $100,000. Again, but I don't know exactly. We don't know exactly. It is just news that has come out, and this is my initial reaction to it. It's very unfortunate. I did like his music, and I felt like the sky was the limit for him, and now there is none of that because he is dead. And it is just sad because I feel like a lot of times stuff like this happens and we're like, oh, he's died. Wow, it's sad for a few days and all of a sudden they forget about it. That's not how it should go. He is just picture it being someone you know. That is awful. His life it's over. He's 20 years old and it's over. It's just awful news. A lot of people, again, are going to be coming out about it, especially rappers and music artists. So it's just awful. My condolences go to his family and friends. A lot of artists, too, that worked with him and are close with him. It's just awful, and that there's no other way to describe it. But transitioning to another awful situation that had somewhat of a positive outcome. Again, we don't know. We weren't there. Some of you were. I am not a NASCAR fan. I don't watch NASCAR. I know who wins the races and stuff. I don't really know much about NASCAR. I don't really know too many drivers. But I do know that NASCAR is one of the hardest sports because you are traveling at 200 miles an hour for 500 laps. And that is impressive. NASCAR is a different animal. And as we know in NASCAR, like any other sport, accidents do happen. Ryan Newman, who is a NASCAR driver who was racing. Now, this is just, I don't know what would have happened had this happened earlier in the race. I know there's crashes that happen all the time. I'd have to ask my friend who's a huge NASCAR fan. But when accidents happen like this, it definitely is a wow what just happened. This was supposedly, or to my knowledge, on the final lap of the Daytona 500. And he being Ryan Newman, was driving when I don't know if he was edged and his car began to turn, and then it was hit and it crashed into the wall, and then it started to do tumble rolls over other cars that were behind him in the race. And it did not look pretty. Now, I know that NASCAR and NASCAR drivers have different safety protocols that they do throughout their races, and just to set up just for, like fire suits and certain things like that. The car hit the impact, hit the wall, and then it started to tumble. So that is where it got ugly. The car was on fire. The car was approached within a minute or so, I believe, after the accident had happened. So here you have somebody that won the Daytona 500 celebrating while there's potentially someone that just died in a car accident. For anybody that is not very familiar with NASCAR, I don't know exactly what is your definition of a bad crash, because I don't think there's ever a good one. But this crash looked bad, and I'm not a NASCAR fanatic, but it didn't look good. So we were all assuming, a lot of us were assuming that he was dead. And it didn't look good. We were told that he's in critical condition. We don't know what's going to happen. Everybody's praying for him. He's taken to the hospital, and the statement was that he had serious injuries, but he was going to be okay. So that happens. Next day rolls on. This is Sunday or Monday now. And now we're told that Ryan Newman is talking. I don't know if I would consider him being well. They still say that he does have some serious injuries and some bleeding going on. So update as of right now, this was shared by my friend Ryan's mother, that I did see it on Facebook, that he supposedly is doing much better. He's still in ICU, so that is not good, but he is talking. They have not attempted for him to walk yet. Now, the doctors are saying that Ryan Newman, it should not result in any paralyzed type future. We don't know that again exactly, but that is very good news, because if someone goes through this and it's awful, the last thing you want is for them to be paralyzed, because a lot of people would rather not be alive than be paralyzed. And I hate to say that, but that is some people's opinion. I don't really know. So he hasn't tried to walk yet. That, I think, is going to be a key step in his recovery process, but he is alive, and he is still kicking. And again, we're praying for him and his family, and this is just great news to know that he is still alive, and he will damn sure have some stories to tell. And this is, again, life flashes before your eyes, professional sports and anything. It makes you really say, wow, anything can happen. So that is that. Ryan Newman is still alive, and that is good. We will hopefully get more updates as time progresses on that. Now, transitioning into something of maybe a little bit more positive. Well, Ryan Newman's being alive is still very positive. This is something positive for New Orleans Saints fans. New Orleans Saints fans are now being told that Drew Brees is coming back, and I originally had thought that this was the case. I thought that Drew Brees was coming back, and I know that he was debating retirement for a while. We saw him talk at the Pro Bowl saying, well, we're going to have to talk to my family. Drew Brees is coming back, and I feel like this is the one and only time where he'll have this debate, because if he ever comes down after this season and says that maybe I don't want to be back again, he's going to retire. If Drew Brees wins another Super Bowl, he's done. Drew Brees is back, and that is good, and that is very good, because Drew Brees, despite missing a couple of games this last year, had an insanely phenomenal season, and he was ranked my number 2 quarterback for all of the season, and that's saying something considering that you missed 4 or 5 games. So that's just kind of that. Drew Brees is coming back. Saints fans should be excited, but that also opens up another gate. Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater was 5-0 taking over for Drew Brees. The Saints didn't lose a game when Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater played for the Vikings. He was great, and he had a horrible, horrible injury. Now he's getting himself back. He's the backup quarterback for Drew Brees. Well, we can kiss anything about starting on New Orleans out of the window. If Drew Brees is the quarterback on the Saints, there's nobody else that has a chance. But Drew Brees does have a chance, and he has a chance elsewhere. Teddy Bridgewater is a quarterback that is good enough to make any team that needs one that much better. To me, I think that Teddy Bridgewater, well, this is a tough decision because to my knowledge, he has 2 more years on his Saints contract. Or he's going to be a free agent. I don't know. The online sources of it, it was a giant confusing mess. Like, just give me the information. So does Drew Brees take probably a lot more money? I don't know how much, but more money. Sign a 1-year deal with a team that needs a quarterback. Or does he stay in the system that he is in on the Saints to possibly get a championship this upcoming football season? That is the question. We know that Teddy Bridgewater is good, and we know that he's good enough to be a quarterback on any team that needs one. He's better than, honestly, a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that start. Probably he's better than Andy Dalton. Let's see. He's better than probably Ryan Fitzpatrick, I would say. Just different quarterbacks that he's a lot better than. So I think that that's kind of a questionable situation kind of going forward. What is he going to do? That's kind of just, I'm going to put my mind around it a little bit. What is Teddy Bridgewater going to do? Because he has a lot of options, and I think that either way it could be good. So that is that going forward. And the last topic to talk about is MLB. Now, we'll make a whole separate video talking about this Astros scandal because it is just too much to cover in one video. But, Mr. Giancarlo Stanton, I seen this coming to going to class this morning, and I almost stopped and started rolling on the ground. Mr. Giancarlo Stanton said that in 2017, he would have hit 80 home runs if he knew what was coming at the plate. There will never be a player in baseball history that hits 80 home runs in a season. It will just not happen. Do I think someone will ever hit 70? It's possible. 80? No. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Mr. Stanton, you shouldn't be talking about 2017 saying what you could have done. Instead, now you should be talking about how the hell can I fix my body so that I'm actually on the field and helping my team. You are always hurt. Now, this doesn't apply to Giancarlo Stanton, but I think that for somebody to say something about the Houston Astros scandal, they have to bat a minimum of 200. Nick Markakis said something. What the hell has Nick Markakis done in the last couple of years? Of importance, true importance, by the way. I don't recall seeing him be really, really good since he was on the Orioles. Atlanta, different teams. Players that are rookies or batting below 200 should not have a say. You need the guys that are flagship carriers of the sport. Aaron Judge said something, as he should. Mike Trout even said something, and Mike Trout is Mr. Classy, so that was a little bit impressing to me. The Astros deserve every bit of criticism leading up to the MLB season, during the MLB season, and at the conclusion of the MLB season. I can't stand the Houston Astros. You can't stand the Houston Astros. So with that being said, there needs to be a player that voluntarily takes a baseball to the back in the first game of a 3-game set in every new team they play. The Astros, let's say they opened up against the White Sox. Who's going to take it this time? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Have a good day.